All right, guys, this will be the post-draft power rankings video. This is probably going to be a pretty long one, but I will try and be as efficient with it as possible. So looking at this graphic, this is the rankings for post-draft. I'm probably going to try and use this template for all power rankings, but if I think it needs to change, it'll change. But the three main things that I will take into consideration is your overall record, your record in your last three games, and your points for in your last three games. Obviously, there's no games played yet. So for this one, the measure of your team is going to be how good I would feel with your roster with the information that we know right now. All right, so getting into the individual teams now, I went ahead and graded positions in your lineup, starters and your bench. And the grade is not necessarily like your value of a draft pick, but it's my confidence in that player in that position in your lineup. So, like, for example, having Jackson Smith and Jigba in your wide receiver 2 is an A plus at your wide receiver 2, but it may only be like an A minus or a B plus as your wide receiver 1, just to get a grasp of the concept. But I'm going to take a quick overview of individual players in your starting lineup and then maybe a few on your bench. But all right, so coming in up first right now is MAGA Kitchens. Lamar Jackson's Lamar Jackson. There's not much that needs to be said there. Bijan Robinson, top tier player. I do worry a little bit about the O-line. They lost their center and then both of their right tackles in the preseason. But Bijan is a great player, not too much to overthink there. Travion Henderson, a lot of hype around him, should get a decent amount of work for the Patriots. Brian Thomas Jr., I love Brian Thomas Jr. I almost took him with my second-round pick, but I think he will do really well in the Liam Cohen offense, and I think he could have a really big season. Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's now the guy in Seattle, so I think that is a lock for Cal's lineup for the entire season. David Njoku, he fits really well with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco feeds him, so I think that's also a spot that Cal will not touch the entire year. Courtland Sutton, I personally hate Courtland Sutton because he wronged me. But that being said, I think Courtland Sutton is a solid flex option. I also think Cal did a really good job with his bench. David Montgomery's really good floor play if Travion Henderson ends up just not being fantasy viable. And then he also has a guy like Rome Odunze, who is a high ceiling player. Like, there's been a lot of buzz in camp that he might overtake DJ Moore this season. And then also it's kind of a sleeper or maybe just like a my guy kind of thing. But I think in 2026, Zach Charbonnet will be the starting running back for the Seahawks. So I don't know if that happens this year, but I think that's also a very solid pick for Cal. Coming in at number 2 is Lisan, al-Gaib, Joe's team. Jordan Love, I think he's very talented, and he works well in Matt LaFleur's system. Matt LaFleur is a very solid offense. But I don't know that the Micah Parsons coming to Green Bay will be a big help. I think they'll be ahead in a lot more games, so I think that could lead to a lower passing game script for Jordan Love. That may be a spot for Joe to look at a trade, but I think Joe did a really good job with the rest of his roster. Bucky Irving, really like, high volume player, good player. Also, Tony Pollard is another one of my guys. I think he could have easily been an early 5th round pick. The Titans have a very good offensive line, and adding Cam Ward, who's more of a deep ball thrower, I think will open things up for Tony Pollard even more. And Tajay Spears is on the IR, so I think a lot of things have broken right for Tony Pollard to have a big season. Jamar Chase, 101, Triple Crown, he's a dog. Garrett Wilson, I think Garrett Wilson is a talented player, but I think the Jets' offense is going to be horrible. Like, when you look at all the teams in the NFL, if I was confident that any team is going to have a bottom 3 passing attack, it would probably be the Jets. Don't really like that pick. Tight end, you guys will see this is the first A++. The A++ means this is my number 1 player at that position from what we know right now. Brock Bowers from all tight ends like that have spoken on him, like the legends, they say he is like that guy. So if they're talking about him like that, I don't know who am I to not think that. And he obviously got a quarterback upgrade with Geno Smith. Terry McLaurin, I think when you look at everyone's rosters right now, I think Terry McLaurin is the best flex in the league. I mean, number one receiver in a high-powered offense. Cliff Kingsbury back, Jaden Daniels back. I think adding Debo isn't super relevant because Terry's going to get his. So I think that's a very good pick there. Really like Joe's lineup. Could use some work at quarterback though. I'm not super in love with Joe's bench. I think Zay Flowers is a solid four-play. He's one of those guys though that you're not really sure when he's going to get his fantasy points. So he's one of those guys that you want to start the entire season because he could have big games or small games. All right, so number 3 is I have given up Mr. Kerr's team. I think Dak is going to have a very strong season. I don't think ADP had enough time to adjust from the Micah Parsons trade as well, especially in our league with a 6-point passing touchdown. I think Dak Prescott is due to have a ton of passing attempts this year and, in turn, a ton of fantasy stats this year. I also really like Jonathan Taylor. That's a solid floor play. Probably not going to be on a great offense, but he's like the entire running game. Kyren Williams, Jack took Kyren Williams right in front of me. I was very upset about that. The one thing with Kyren Williams is because like having him out your RB2, that should probably be an A. But the thing with Kyren Williams is his longest touchdown run last year was 7 yards, so he's not necessarily a like do it himself kind of guy. It's more of a result of situation. And if Matthew Stafford goes down, I don't know how much they're getting into the red zone and inside the 10-yard line and getting Kyren Williams touchdowns. But he's still a very solid player, and right now Matthew Stafford is considered going to be healthy for week 1. So I really like him. And CeeDee Lamb is my wide receiver 1 for this season. Similar Micah Parsons type beat. He's gone. More passing, more fantasy points, and CeeDee Lamb and Dak just have that connection. So really like CeeDee Lamb. Jack took him 1 pick in front of me. I was very upset about that. Tyreek Hill, it just came out today actually that he's not going to be a captain on the team. So I'm really not sure how much he may not be on the Dolphins through the entirety of the season, which could be good for him, but kind of indifferent on that pick. Travis Kelce, he had so many targets last year and was not able to produce a lot, but at the same time, he's Patrick Mahomes' tight end, so kind of a mid player there as well. Chuba Hubbard should be in for a high volume role. They did add Rico Dowdle, but they gave Chuba a bag, so I'm sure he will still be a large part of this offense. Then I also really, really like Jack's bench. DJ Moore, number 1 option currently on the Bears, gets a lot of easy targets. And then Matthew Golden. The reporters in Green Bay love Matthew Golden. I don't know if it's just because it's their first round pick receiver in a long time, but they like speak super highly of him. Tyrone Tracy. I think Tyrone Tracy was going too low in drafts. He's not like a Tony Pollard for me, where I think he's going to have a monster year, but I do think he's going to have a better year than where he was drafted. And then one more guy I'll shout out on Jack's roster. He took a flyer on Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon's going to be out the first 4 weeks, and it may take him some time to get back, but it's not like Jack needs him with how his roster is currently constructed. But if Joe Mixon gets to the playoffs and he's cooking, it's a really good piece for Jack to have. All right, in 4th here is Team Elyaderani, Grayson's team. Kind of kept up with the same trend. I'll get into that, with what I mean with that. But took Joe Burrow. Grayson actually texted me that he's not super in love with taking Burrow where he took him, but it's one of those where you have to play the league rules, which is a 6-point passing touchdown. So Joe Burrow is very valuable in this league for that reason. He also has Jahmyr Gibbs, which he claims he misclicked and wanted to take Bijan, but in my opinion, Jahmyr Gibbs will be the best running back this season. I think it's another season where David Montgomery just touches the ball a little bit less, and Jahmyr Gibbs becomes more and more of that guy. He also has R.J. Harvey, which is kind of buried, I believe, in the depth chart right now for the Broncos. I think J.K. Dobbins is the one right now, but high draft capital invested in him and Sean Payton's offense if he gets that like Alvin Kamara type role. By the end of the season, could be a very strong pick, but for right now, it's kind of a hole on Grayson's team. Drake London, really like Drake London. Strong offense, number one receiver. Teteroa McMillan, I was also very upset when Grayson took him. I was hoping to get Teteroa, but Teteroa McMillan, very similar profile to Mike Evans, and he comes from Dave Canal's offense, who was the offensive coordinator for Mike Evans and had some good seasons for Mike Evans in Tampa Bay. So I think Teteroa could have a really big season this year. Trey McBride, stable targets. Kyler loves throwing the ball over the middle. Calvin Ridley, this is on brand for Grayson. This is like somebody that in the like fantasy social media world has been claimed as a league winner because high volume from Cam Ward, and there's just not many other receivers on the Titans roster. Going into Grayson's bench, not super in love with many of these guys. I do like George Pickens, high passing offense with the Cowboys, but maybe Jordan Mason takes over for Aaron Jones, but not super in love with any of the other guys on his bench. I do think he has a team, though, that if some players live up to their expectations, could be a very strong team come the playoffs. Coming in at number 5 here is greatest ever, Sam's team. Jalen Hurts, very strong player. A lot of easy touchdowns, tush push. Derrick Henry. He's getting old, but the thing with running backs is oftentimes rushing touchdowns just come from being in a good offense. And the Ravens with Lamar are going to be a good offense. And when you think about the Ravens roster and offensive personnel specifically, if you are inside the 5-yard line on the Ravens, you're not going to be throwing like slants to Zay Flowers. You're not going to be throwing deep balls to Rashad Bateman. When you get into the 5, it's going to be Derrick Henry or Lamar, maybe Mark Andrews a little bit, but every time you get near the goal line, it's Derrick Henry or Lamar. So I think Derrick Henry, even if he loses a step, he's still just going to such a high touchdown floor there. DeAndre Swift, is kind of an interesting position because Ben Johnson coming in the Lions used their running backs a ton with Ben Johnson, but they also traded DeAndre Swift away. So I don't know how much Ben Johnson actually likes DeAndre Swift, but we'll see. I'm also not exactly sure DeAndre Swift is that talented, but could be a nice pickup if things break right for DeAndre Swift. Justin Jefferson has been quarterback proof so far. I'm personally like a JJ McCarthy hater, so I don't know that Justin Jefferson will be able to live up to his draft position there, but I would still feel decently confident with Justin Jefferson as my wide receiver 1. Ladd McConkey, I think Ladd is one of those guys that was going too high in drafts this year. I feel fine with him as my wide receiver 2. But you add Keenan Allen, who had some big seasons with Justin Herbert. Maybe it was just one big season, but Keenan Allen, slot guy, probably going to take a lot of targets away. And then also you add Martin Hampton and Najee Harrison and Jim Harbaugh's commitment to the run game. I don't know that Ladd is going to be able to live up to the season that he had last year. Evan Ingram, really like Evan Ingram. He's not like an elite talent at tight end, but when you put him with Bo Nix and Sean Payton, I think that he will have a lot of easy catches from Bo Nix. Devontae Smith, this is another one of my guys this year. Devontae Smith, I have usually faded because he's one of those guys that you don't know when he's going to get his, but he's entering his prime years, and I also think that the Eagles are going to have to pass a decent bit more this season. So I really like Devontae Smith at the flex. I think Sam has a solid bench. Kyler's a nice backup quarterback. I feel like he could have took a shot at a position player though instead of taking Kyler. But Jameson Williams, maybe he has a big year, maybe he has a breakout year. Otherwise, I think Sam's got a solid team, and I think he will be pretty competitive this season. All right, coming in at number 6 here is Ihop Challenge, Tim's team. Going down the roster here, Bo Nix, solid player. Don't know that he's got that top 3 quarterback ceiling. Ashton Jeanty, I'd be feeling pretty good, but it is a rookie. Same with Amari and Hampton, 2 rookie running backs is a bit of a dice roll, but both pretty solid players in pretty solid situations. Malik Neighbors, elite talent, in my opinion, a top 5 wide receiver talent in the league right now. I do worry a little bit, though, with the quarterback play, but he should see a ton of targets this year. Devontae Adams, I don't know that Devontae Adams is still that guy anymore. I think by the end of the season, we could see Devontae Adams be considered as washed, but who knows? I could be proven wrong, and Devontae Adams could have a monster season, but I just don't really like it, especially with Puka being the motion guy last year. Like, he took over Cooper Kupp's role as the motion guy, and a lot of the targets went to him. TJ Hawkinson, I like that. Good safety blanket for a rookie quarterback, and TJ Hawkinson's also pretty talented. Xavier Worthy, I think Xavier Worthy will be very good until Rashee Rice gets back. After that, I think Xavier Worthy will recede to like a Khalil Shakir type role, where he gets like maybe 6 or 7 scripted plays a game, and to be like fantasy relevant, all of those are going to have to be like productive, and one of them is going to have to be a touchdown every time. When I look at Tim's bench, it's also like solid but mid, like not really a ton of high ceiling players here. So I think Tim's got a solid team. I don't know that Tim's going to have that firepower to go and win a championship unless Ashton Jeanty or Amari and Hampton have like a rookie of the year type year, and the Giants quarterback situation ends up being very good. All right, and at number 7, Call of Jeudy. Really like that name, Alex. Josh Allen, my A++ quarterback, think he will be the number 1 quarterback this season. Each of the last 5 seasons in standard PPR scoring. I say standard because not 6-point passing touchdowns. Josh Allen has finished as a top 2 quarterback each of the last 5 years. That's insane. So would feel really confident with Josh Allen as my quarterback going into this year. Alvin Kamara seems to score points no matter what, but this offense is going to be so bad. Their starting quarterback is Spencer Rattler. I get it. He's just going to get checkdowns when they're losing, but Alvin Kamara had, I think, like 65 points in the first 2 weeks last year with Derek Carr, and then never really had that high level of running back play that you would want out of an RB1 the rest of the season. So I think Alvin Kamara is a good player, but I just don't know that him as your RB1 is going to be like a league-winning formula. Breece Hall, again, with the Jets, I think the Jets' offense is going to be miserable, and Breece Hall's only real upside is if Justin Fields just becomes a checkdown merchant, because when you get inside near the goal line where running backs tend to get their touchdowns, again, on good offenses, which I don't think the Jets will be, the Jets have already said Braylon Allen is that like thumper type guy, so he'll be in on those. And then even if Breece is in, Justin Fields is also a goal line touchdown threat. Nico Collins, really like good passing offense, number 1 option, high volume role, especially Tank Dell gone, so he's like the only guy that really has reports. CJ Stroud, Puka, I think Puka is a great wide receiver too. Like, Puka would be a wide receiver 2 A+ for me if I knew Matthew Stafford was going to play every game this year. I think Puka could potentially have a wide receiver 1 type season, but that is extremely dependent on Matthew Stafford. I think Mark Andrews will be good until Isaiah Likely comes back. Isaiah Likely seems to be the preferred tight end with Lamar Jackson as opposed to Mark Andrews, so I think he'll be good early season. Jerry Jeudy, it's one of those guys where it's like the wide receiver 1 on a bad offense. So I don't know that I'm feeling great about that. He's one of those guys that you're probably, if you want to get the most out of Jerry Jeudy, you just have to start him every single week and hope that you get his 1,000 yards by the end of the season. I also, with Alex's bench, I'm not a big fan of Alex's bench at all. I don't see any big hits outside of Rashee Rice. If Rashee Rice was not on this bench, it would probably be a D plus. But I think Rashee Rice could be a big get for Alex down the stretch if his team's able to tread water until Rashee Rice gets back. All right, coming in at number 8 is Big Papa Kless's team. I think Baker Mayfield is a solid quarterback, not like a great quarterback. He had the best season of his career by far last year, so expecting him to do that again, I don't know that I would bank on that, but it's definitely possible. But third offensive coordinator as well in 3 years, so it'll be pretty interesting to see how Baker does this year. Saquon Barkley, I was stunned. I was stunned when Jack took Saquon Barkley at 2. I wanted to go look at the stat real quick, but running backs to have 400 plus carries in the previous season. The highest finish the next season out of any of them, there was 11 of them, was running back 15. And Jack took Saquon as the running back 1. Now, I understand it's Saquon Barkley and it's the Eagles' offense. Like, there's no way he regresses that bad. They probably thought that about quite a few of these other guys. And I was not touching Saquon Barkley in the first round, maybe not even the first 2 rounds, but I think Jack may look back at that pick this year. Like, I know it's hard to think about Saquon not having a good year this year, but at the end of the day, that's just like it's NFL history. Like, you're asking something to happen that's never happened before. So I'm not a big. I'm pretty out on Saquon as my running back 1 this year. Chase Brown, really like Chase Brown. I think Chase Brown will finish in the top 10 of running backs this season. Chase Brown was one of my 3 guys that I wanted to come out of the draft with. I wanted to come out of the draft with Chase Brown, Bucky Irving, or Tony Pollard. I came out with none of them. Joe actually has 2 of those guys, but I think Chase Brown's going to be a very good fantasy player this year. A.J. Brown, I really like A.J. Brown in a vacuum as a player by himself, but when you pair him with Saquon Barkley, I was very surprised when Jack did this. Taking 2 players on the same offense with your first 2 picks, that really limits your ceiling. Across the course of the fantasy season, like, they're going to get their points, so it may not be that big of an issue up until the playoffs. But when you're trying to win in the playoffs, you're going against the best teams who have high scoring weeks, and you really hurt that ceiling of being able to score a lot of points when your top 2 players on your team are on the same offense. So I was really surprised about that from Jack. And Mike Evans, the other thing with Mike Evans, if Mike Evans has a year that he's going to return wide receiver 2 value, then he's going to have to break Jerry Rice's all-time record for 1,000-yard seasons. So Jack's banking on a lot of history to not repeat itself here. So pretty interesting. I do not like Sam Laporta. I don't think Sam Laporta is actually that talented of a player. I think he was more of a culprit of Ben Johnson's system. Not culprit, like a benefactor of Ben Johnson's system. Kenneth Walker, I kind of touched on Kenneth Walker earlier. Kenneth Walker is like eerily similar to Chris Carson in the fact that when they play, they are going to average like 15 points a game, but they just don't play enough that like you really feel confident in that player. But as long as Kenneth Walker is healthy, I do like him at the flex. I do like Ricky Pearsall this year. That's another player that's like a my guy player. I wanted to come out of the draft with Ricky Pearsall. Had I not gotten George Kittle, I probably would have reached up for Ricky Pearsall. But I think that could be a good player this season. The other player I like on Jack's bench is Colston Loveland. I think Colston Loveland will be Jack's starting tight end by the end of the season. I think it's possible for this team to make the playoffs, but I'd be pretty surprised if this team was in the championship or winning the championship. Alrighty, fellas, my microphone died, so I'm going to have to go back here at the end. But number 9, Mahomes Magic Show, my team. Patrick Mahomes, he's one of those guys that could have a 40-point game at any given time, but his floor is also pretty low. He's more in win-now mode, but I'm kind of banking on a little bit of a revenge tour for Mahomes. So solid player, but pretty wide range of outcomes there. Josh Jacobs, really high floor running back. Same situation where he's in a good offense and he's the goal line back. So good offense, that's where your rushing touchdowns come from. Goal line back, good opportunity. James Conner, solid player. He's a little shaky for me because he's age 30. Aaron Jones feels so old, but James Conner is actually that same age. So James Conner had his career year last year. Probably going to regress a little bit, but hoping he still returns solid numbers this year. Amon-Ra St. Brown, super high floor player, has a high ceiling as well. He's not exactly in a pass-heavy offense with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery on the Lions, but the Lions have a very fast-paced offense. They run a high volume of offensive plays, so should have ample opportunity there. Emeka Egbuka, I think he is going to have a big, 6 weeks, I think it is, till Chris Godwin comes back. My question is, when Chris Godwin comes back, how effective he will still be. But I love the player, and I love the opportunity early on. George Kittle, I was very surprised that I got George Kittle. George Kittle on almost every other platform is the same ADP as the other tight ends. It goes Bowers, McBride, Kittle, 2021, 22, whatever it is. So for me to get him a round and a half later, very happy about that. James Cook, I think James Cook is a very solid running back, again, in a good offense. Ray Davis takes some goal line work, but up until they're literally inside the 3, maybe, James Cook is usually that guy because he's able to catch out the backfield. And he had a lot of touchdowns last year, but so did Josh Allen as well. So I think even if the touchdowns come back a little bit for James Cook, I think he'll still be a very solid player. When it comes to my bench, I would not feel comfortable starting any players on my bench right now, but it's a lot of home run swings. Like if Travis Hunter plays the Chris Godwin role in the Liam Cohen offense down in Jacksonville, that could be a monster league winner. If Caleb Johnson takes over for the Steelers in an Arthur Smith offense by the end of the season, that could be a league winner. So I took a lot of swings like that. Ollie Gordon, good handcuff as well for Devon Achane if Devon Achane goes down. But I think I have a solid team. But with what we know right now, which is how I'm doing these rankings, I don't know that I could confidently say that this is a championship roster. But I could see this team gain momentum throughout the season and be right up there. Number 10 is Colt 45s. I really liked that Colt changed his draft strategy and went with running backs in the first 2 rounds. I don't necessarily like that he went with 2 super risky running backs. He went with Devon Achane and Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey, super great player up to this point in his career when he's been on the field. End of last year, he looked kind of slow, like Nick Chubb effect, kind of. So not super sure if he's still going to be that guy. So that's where the B grade comes from. And Devon Achane at your running back 2, this should be an A+ if he wasn't injured. I love Devon Achane, especially because Tua last year became a checkdown merchant to Johnny Smith and Devon Achane. But again, calf injury is generally not good for running backs, so that's shaky. He went Jaden Daniels, I think, with his 3rd-round pick. But regardless, Jaden Daniels, great fantasy quarterback. Cliff Kingsbury came back as the OC. Should be a really strong offense. Still has Terry McLaurin, added Deebo Samuel. Deebo's kind of washed, but Deebo should be good around the line of scrimmage. So pretty comfortable with Jaden Daniels. T. Higgins, you're having your core as McCaffrey, Achane, and T. Higgins. With what we know right now, and what we know right now is T. Higgins has a very extensive injury history. So I don't know that I really like T. Higgins as my wide receiver 1. Marvin Harrison Jr., I love Marvin Harrison Jr. the talent. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. with a better quarterback would be an A wide receiver 2. However, Kyler Murray just is not that great at throwing outside the numbers. And as long as they keep using Marvin Harrison Jr. in that way, then I don't see Marvin Harrison Jr. having a monster ceiling with Kyler Murray as his quarterback. If Marvin Harrison Jr. got opportunities like Brian Thomas did, where he's able to catch a lot of screens or run drags across the field, run short crosses across the field, then I could see Marvin Harrison Jr. being a great player, but he's pretty much exclusively used as an outside target. Tyler Warren, I really like the talent in Tyler Warren. Don't like Daniel Jones, the quarterback. I do, just to jump to it, I really do like Josh Downs. That was a player I really wanted to have, but I waited too long to take him. Daniel Jones really likes throwing to his slot receivers. Wanda Robinson had some big years with him on the Giants. But I don't know how well Daniel Jones is going to do as a passer for the Colts. DK Metcalf, I hated that pick. Colt got pretty good value on that pick. But just in general, I don't like. I did not want to be the guy to draft DK Metcalf. Having the wide receiver one on Arthur Smith offense, it can have you like, I don't even know what to say, like pulling your hair out. Like Arthur Smith in Atlanta would rather use like a Ray McLeod than like Kyle Pitts or Drake London. So that's probably going to be pretty frustrating. And then once we go to Colts bench here, the thing with Colts bench is he took a lot of guys at value. Like J.K. Dobbins slid like 20 picks, and he took him. And, like that should be like a good pick, right? Well, the thing with a lot of these players, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt maybe is outside of this. I'll touch on him in a second, but like a lot of the players Colt took are not going to have that super high ceiling. And as you get later into the draft, you don't necessarily want to just get value. Like you don't want to take the wide receiver 30 at pick wide receiver 40 and be happy with that. Like, are you going to be starting the wide receiver 30 in your lineup with like confidence? No, like that's not what you're going for. I'm more of a try and hit a home run as you get super late in drafts than just clean up the board type thing. And the thing with Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt is I think his ceiling is like Tyrone Tracy. Austin Ekeler's going to take a lot of receiving work, maybe not all of it, but a lot of it. And Jaden Daniels is going to vulture a lot of touchdowns on the goal line. So like if you're going to take Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, you might as well just take Tyrone Tracy, in my opinion. All right, so to wrap things up here, I know I talked very fast in this. I've already been recording for an hour and a half, so I don't know how long this video is going to be. But if you think I breezed over something, if you want to talk about something with your team, just text me. I love talking ball. The content on the individual teams will change. I'm not just going to have the grades. That's just for this draft. My opinion is not like the law. Like if I knew everything that was going to happen, I would win the league every year. That's not how it works. There's bound to be takes in here that are going to miss, but this is just my opinion on what I know and how I would feel about your team right now. With that being said, I cannot wait for football to start on Thursday, and I'm very excited for this fantasy season. I believe the next video will be the Intel video following week 1. So thank you guys.